were you surprised that Jalen Smith finished over Vooch? Because the Bulls still had a chance to get back into the game. Like I said, they were down 14. And Billy decided to go with Jalen Smith over Vooch.
Yeah, to Jalen Smith's credit, he stepped in 4-4 from the field, 2 of 2 on threes, got to the free throw line 3 times, made all of them, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, and a block. And that's just great production from a backup big. And I think what the Bulls wanted out of Jalen Smith was a big that could defend the rim, but also run the floor, but also space the floor and shoot some threes, because what they really wanted to do this year coming into the season was change their shot profile and get up and down, but also have that floor spacing element from the center spot to create those driving lanes. And that's really what generates a lot of the offense, is having that space to attack the paint, spraying it out, and then having the big who can step out and shoot it or trail the play, but also just to pull the opposing big away from the rim. And I think Jalen Smith does that very well. There are nights when he's like shooting it, and there are nights when he doesn't. This was obviously a good shooting game for him, but he's versatile. He can attack the rim on the short roll. He can dive and catch lobs. He's a good athlete. So I think there's a lot of utility there with just the way he plays.
One of the best things he does is he's a great guy on the pick and roll. So you get him that ball and he cuts to the basket. And I mean, he's going with reckless abandon, and he's going to finish, and not just finish with a lay-in. He's trying to dunk the ball on your head and finish and get to the line. That's always something I love, especially in the big guy. But as I mentioned before, he could step out, shoot the three as well. But on the defensive end also, you saw he was honestly one of the few Bulls that had that effort tonight and that hustle out there, because he was hustling back outside of Lonzo. He would hustle back on those fast breaks, trying to get those blocks, trying to disrupt and do those things like that. What do you feel about Jalen Smith's game, Will? And do you think he can make that offense more dynamic? And what I mean by that is I know what Vooch can do, obviously. Like, he's a beast. He's a beast inside. He can hit that shot outside it too. But it's the length of Jalen Smith. And like I said, like I mentioned, that pick and roll, which, will make your life pretty easy as a point guard. Do you think he can make those guards and those kind of – and even a guy like Zach LaVine, who he can run a pick and roll with as well, do you think he makes those guys, like, more dynamic with his style of play?
I don't know if he is, like – aside from like the floor spacing element, like I don't think he's necessarily making guys better. I do think that counts for something, right? Sure. Like if I'm a big and I'm guarding in space up on a pick and roll and I have to decide between like containing Zach LaVine or getting back out to Jalen Smith, I'm in trouble. Yeah. And I think the Bulls want to put opposing teams in that predicament. Sure. And so I think in that sense, he does make guys better, but he's not the same, like moving the ball side to side, keeping the offense flowing. You're not really playing through him in the post as much as you can with Vooch. So he's not as dynamic in that sense, but I do think what he provides, and we've talked about this before last year at times, was like, is it better to have a cheaper specialist or a higher paid do-it-all guy? And I think the Bulls kind of have both right now. They have a guy who can do it all, who can be the heavy minutes center, and then they have a guy who can come in, space the floor, protect the rim, and run the floor. And that's really what they need, especially in those second units when it's like Zach's maybe not on the court and obviously Vooch isn't. Yeah. You can just create offense through that system that we've talked about.
We all city like the mayor.